Hi guys, this is the Life Embracing channel, and I wanted to start by sharing with you a poem called The Invitation, and it's written by a woman called Oriah Mountain Dreamer. It doesn't interest me what you do for a living. I want to know what you ache for, and if you dare to dream of meeting your heart's longing. It doesn't interest me how old you are. I want to know if you will risk looking like a fool for love, for your dream, for the adventure of being alive. It doesn't interest me what planets are squaring your moon. I want to know if you have touched the centre of your own sorrow, if you have been opened by life's betrayals, or have become shriveled and closed from the fear of further pain. I want to know if you can sit with pain, mine or your own, without moving to hide it, or fade it, or fix it. I want to know if you can be with joy, mine or your own, and if you can dance with the wildness and let the ecstasy fill you to the tips of your fingers and toes, without cautioning us to be careful, to be realistic, to remember the limitations of being human. It doesn't interest me if the story you are telling me is true. I want to know if you can disappoint another to be true to yourself, if you can bear the accusation of betrayal and not betray your own soul, if you can be faithless and therefore trustworthy. I want to know if you can see beauty, even when it's not pretty every day, and if you can share your own life form in its presence. I want to know if you can live with failure, yours and mine, and still stand on the edge of the lake and shout to the silver of the full moon, yes. It doesn't interest me to know where you live or how much money you have. I want to know if you can get up after the night of grief and despair, weary and bruised to the bone, and do what needs to be done to feed the children. It doesn't interest me who you know or how you came to be here. I want to know if you will stand in the centre of the fire with me and not shrink back. It doesn't interest me where or what or with whom you have studied. I want to know what sustains you from the inside when all else falls away. I want to know if you can be alone with yourself and if you truly like the company you keep in empty moments. This woman wrote this poem called The Invitation many years ago, and from it came this book that I'm reading from, and if you can find it, then I really recommend reading it. And it certainly speaks to my heart and my soul. And I was reading some things in here yesterday that I wanted to share to you guys, because I've just been in this place where I felt that I've lost all hope and all faith, and my counsellor keeps asking me about my drive and my passion, about what keeps me going in life when all else fails, and I can't answer, well, I haven't been able to answer that question yet. I said I don't know what it is. I just know that I keep going. I know that there's this will. I know that there's this desire in me that just wants to keep moving forward. And so I was reading through this book yesterday, and I'll just read this bit out to you. Tell me, have you been where hope and faith cannot find you? What sustains you when all you have relied upon, inner and outer, falls away? How do you get through? How do you take the next breath? And she goes on and she talks about her own personal experiences that I related to myself, that I've always had hope and I've always had faith in life, but there's certainly lots of times where I've lost hope, but my faith is what I thought that sustained me in life, that I could fall back on that I could rely on that. But a year ago when I was attacked, I lost my faith, and for the first time I got angry at the universe, or you could call it God, or whatever you want to call it. I lost my faith, but yet that drive and that passion and that desire and that will to keep going forward was still there, and so this intrigued me to think, actually, what is it that sustains me? And I guess I'm asking you guys to think about this too, that in the midst of having an eating disorder and the pain and the punishment, both emotionally and spiritually and physically, within all of that, what keeps you guys going? What sustains you? Is it hope or is it faith? But when those things fail, what is it that drives you? And she asked the question, what sustains you, what keeps you going when you've lost hope and when you've lost faith. And I started thinking, really, what is it? And really challenging myself to think what this presence was within my life. And I thought of the video that Gretchen did. I'm not sure if it was her last one. It was called 2% Baby. And I can't remember what it's actually called, but she was talking about this 2%. And if you had a boulder or you had a rock, that if just 2% of that had movement, if it had energy, that it's constantly moving, that the whole boulder would eventually move. And I started thinking about this within myself, because this bit that sustains me feels like that. It feels like this energy that's constantly moving, that keeps me as a whole person moving forward. And I seen it as this little ball of light within the center of my being. And then I started thinking about my authentic self, that part within us that's pure and that's been untouched and untainted by the world and what happens to us. And I seen this as a light, and I seen it as an energy, and I seen it as something universal. And so I've got this universal energy ball of light within me that's constantly moving, that's constantly got a life and energy of its own that keeps me moving forward in life. And then I started thinking about the yin-yang symbol, and it's black on one side and light on the other side, and within the blackness there's a little speck of light, and on the light side, in all of that light there's a speck of dark. And what that means is that there's balance, and it means that when we're sitting in a light-filled place, there's always going to be this element of darkness that's going to come up and challenge us, and that needs to happen for us to evolve. On the flip side of that, on the yin-yang side of that, when we're in complete darkness, there's always this ball of light that keeps us moving. So I started thinking, what is this ball of light? It's energy, it's universal. And then I came to the conclusion that it was this life force. It was the life force that's within us. And with my spiritual beliefs, I believe that all of us have this authentic part, that we have this life force within us. And going back to Gretchen's video, even though that seems small, at just 2%, it's constantly, the energy of it is moving, which creates me as this whole person to keep moving. And so that gave me so much hope and strength, and actually reignited my hope and faith that, wow, I can do this, I can pull myself out of this. And it was just cool to be able to identify for me actually what keeps me going forward, because when all hope fails and when faith just isn't there, and we're just wanting to pull the covers up over our heads and feeling like nothing matters, then if you can source what it is that keeps moving you forward, that keeps making you want to wake up in the morning and go, hey, I can do this, despite the pain and the agony that eating disorders or life can sometimes bring us. If you can source that and sit within that and harness that energy, it grows and it expands. And that when I discovered this last night, that what seemed like this 2% energy within me that had movement, when I connected with it, it expanded throughout my whole entire body. And I sit here today and I feel more passionate, and I feel more centered, and I feel more grounded and balanced, and like, yeah, I can do this. Gosh, and my time is probably up. So my challenge to you guys is, what sustains you? What keeps you going? What's your motivation? Let me know. Be really interested to hear. Hope you guys are having an awesome week, and I will catch up with you next week.